Organized labor relaxes two-day-old strike action for enhanced negotiation. Central Bank of Nigeria to strengthen debt management capacity in West Africa with partnership. And NCDC moves to amplify public health messaging across Nigeria. Good evening. Thanks for joining us on the news desk at 6 on NTA News 24, live from Abuja. I'm Ogoch Kuka. Ona, you're welcome. The Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage had its first meeting after the organized labor suspended the nationwide industrial action. These pragmatic efforts by government and the workers' unions to amicably resolve the dispute has excited some Nigerians who expressed relief. Our labor correspondent, Joseph Otsen, has the report.
The industrial action embarked upon by the organized labor lasted for a day, but it's a day many will want to forget in a hurry, as lots of official and socio-economic activities were put on hold.
Considering those in the hospital, we are considering those who are in the private sector, the works have been crippled, so it's a good one to start with.
Because of the strike, things are getting harder and harder and harder. But NSC, with their own wisdom with the government, they call it off. But we are hoping that we'll get even 120 as a minimum wage for workers.
It seems a quick resolution is in sight, as immediately after the suspension of the strike, the Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage reconvened, where parties are optimistic that the issues will be resolved within the 1 week.
The truth of the matter is that we will improve. And whether there's a figure in mind, you will know that at the end of the day.
If government said, okay, give us time for us to conclude, and we agreed that timeline to be 7 days. So the NEC also approved that, okay, let us also give a window of 7 days, that after 7 days, if nothing is done, we go back again to the trenches.
The committee is expected to now meet every day, as agreed earlier in the meeting between representatives of the federal government and the labor unions, until it comes up with a considerable national minimum wage for all. In Abuja, Joseph Otsen, NTA News.
In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has received brief from leaders of the federal government's team negotiating with organized labor unions that facilitated suspension of the industrial action. Secretary to the government of the Federation, George Akume, led the team to the presidential villa this Tuesday afternoon. State House correspondent Musbah Odan Wahab had a brief chat with the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, on the latest situation.
All right, the sharing is that the strike has been suspended by the organized labor unions, and we have the Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, who's been critical to this negotiation going on so far. Let's quickly hear a bit from him about what has gone down in the last 24 hours. Honorable Minister, thank you so much for your time. How has it been negotiating with the organized labor?
Well, it's been quite challenging, but we thank God that we are at this point. We thank Labour that they have suspended, through to their awards last night, they've suspended their strike early this morning. And government on its side, you can see that the President has just summoned a meeting of all those who negotiated on behalf of the federal government, led by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. The Minister of Finance was there, the Minister of Budget and Economy Planning, myself, the Minister of Labour, the Group Managing Director of the NMPC, were all there to look at those issues, and then the President has directed the Minister of Finance to do the numbers and get back to him between today and tomorrow, so that we can have some figures ready for negotiation with Labour. Let me say that Mr. President is determined to go with what the committee has said. He is also looking at the welfare of Nigerians. Like I've said earlier, government is not against, it's not an opponent of labor discussions, it's not an opponent of wage increase. But what is there is that government is always desirous of ensuring that there is a balance between what government pronouncement is and what the realities are on ground. And therefore, we'll work assiduously to ensure that whatever we do, whatever promises the government makes will be kept. That's the idea of this meeting. The President has given a marching order that all those who have negotiated on behalf of government and all those also who are representative of other sectors, the organized private sector, the subnationals, come together so that we can have a new wage award that is acceptable, that is sustainable, and that is also realistic for Nigeria.
Okay, part of the outcome is that the meeting will continue in the next 7 days. So what specifically are we looking at as a lasting solution?
Well, you know that the issue of wage award is not just that of the federal government. Like I mentioned earlier, the subnationals are involved, the organized private sector is involved, the labor is involved. It was labor that staged a step out during those proceedings. Now that we have come back to the negotiating table, all of us will work together again assiduously within the next 1 week to ensure that we have a new wage for Nigeria that is acceptable, that is sustainable, that is also realistic for all Nigerians.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. We hope that the lasting solution being desired will be found. And that's it from the presidential villa for now.
Thank you, Dan Wahab there. And now, despite the nationwide industrial action embarked upon by the trade unions, the 2024 Senior Secondary School examination conducted by the West African Examination Council has been going on without hindrance. Kehinde Omolosho monitored the conduct of the examination in Ibadan, Oyo State.
Though schools visited were deserted as teaching and learning activities were put on hold due to the industrial action, WAEC examination was however being conducted in an orderly manner with enough materials to go around those sitting for the exams. Some students expressed appreciation to the examination body for not participating in the strike.
The exam I've been doing so far is wonderful, with my expectation hoping for good results.
I did not allow us to cheat, and I like the way they did it. I like the way they organize it. That's normal. Everybody is doing their own work on their own.
I'm sure I'll come out in flying colors because our teachers really tried for us. They taught us what they are meant to teach us, and we really listened attentively to their teachings.
WAEC supervisors and principals of the schools visited are leaving no stones unturned in preventing examination malpractices.
The students have been conducting themselves very well, and they have not been having any issues at all.
The students have been writing on their own, and we also have our WAEC officials moving around from time to time.
Efforts to speak with WAEC zonal coordinator proved abortive as NTA News crew was not allowed entry into the premises. Kehinde Omolosho, NTA News.
Similarly, the senior school certificate examination conducted by WAEC is ongoing in Bayelsa State, irrespective of the national strike action by the NLC and TUC. Aya Prezi, who monitored the exercise in parts of Yenagoa, reports.
The examination is going on smoothly in centers visited by NTA News crew and candidates taking part in the exercise conducted in an orderly manner. Internal supervisors at the schools commended WAEC for promptness to time.
For today, the students that are writing the SSC WAEC are only students permitted to enter the school environment for that purpose. Well, the examination is ongoing, smooth, and there's no issues.
Materials come in with the supervisors because they come in with the question papers from WAEC. It's locked with padlock. So here we have the school key to open the padlock for the exam to start. And once the exam is over, they collect the papers, lock the padlock, and also return the papers to WAEC. So there's no issue of late arrival of material of any sort.
The materials arrive after 9, and the exam commences by 9:30.
However, NTA News crew was prevented from monitoring the examination at the St. Jude's Girls Secondary School, Amarata, by the school's management on the claim that the press is not allowed to do so without an order of permits from the State Ministry of Education. Investigation reveals that the WAEC examination has been going on despite the one-day strike action by the workers' unions. In Yenagoa, Aya Prezi, NTA News.
The federal government has named a newly inaugurated road after a Nigerian playwright and novelist, Wole Soyinka, for his contributory efforts to the positive image of Nigeria across the world. President Bola Tinubu expressly approved the proposal at the inauguration of the arterial road project within the federal capital city. We'll bring you details of these reports in our subsequent bulletin. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria and the West African Institute for Financial and Economic Management is partnering multilateral organizations to strengthen debt management capacity in West Africa. Our regional training on annual borrowing plan development has therefore been organized for member countries as part of efforts to ensure prudent fiscal management and economic stability.
Debt MTDS, the practical implementation often presents considerable challenges. This particular training on annual borrowing plan development is designed to address this issue by providing a structured framework for operationalizing the MTDS annually.
The ABP enables debt managers to optimize the timing and structure of debt issuance by carefully analyzing market conditions and investor preferences and the government's borrowing needs. This strategic approach can lower borrowing costs and reduce the overall economic debt burden.
All right, this news desk at 6 is reaching you live on NTA News 24, Abuja. We have more reports when we return. Please stay tuned.
It's been an uncommon year of public policy and governance to renew hope in Africa's largest democracy. Beginning May 27, join us on TV, online, and on mobile for a series of documentaries and live shows as we detail the hope, resilience, and progress of Nigeria in the last 1 year. Tune in as we make sense of Nigeria's paradigm shift in monetary and fiscal policies, death of the parasitic monster called subsidy, and boost in agriculture and food security. NTA.
The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, is strengthening media relations to amplify public health messaging to the people in nooks and crannies of the country. It has set this in motion by interfacing with media executives in Abuja. This meeting, facilitated by the International Society of Media and Public Health, believes that the critical role of the media cannot be wished away during and after the outbreak of diseases.
The world has become a global village, and the media is central to promoting good health system. So you can only report from the point of knowledge, and this is what we're trying to do today.
What we plan to do is to use all forms of modalities, all modalities available. It could be electronic, to also be traditional. These are the traditional cultural modalities.
And the media executives understand the assignment perfectly. Strengthening collaboration for national health security is necessary, especially when it is an established fact that most Nigerians have a lackadaisical attitude when it concerns prevention of diseases. They agree that research, robust publicity, accurate and timely information, and funding are key factors in achieving results.
The health of a nation is the wealth of a nation. And all we need to do is to collaborate with NCDC for a healthier country.
The takeaways are that Nigeria is relatively safe, but it can't be safer through emergency preparedness and response, promotion and prevention. In Abuja, Ogochkuka Ona, NTA News. The challenge of manpower gap and brain drain in the Niger State health sector, and indeed Nigeria, is gradually fizzling out. This is with the engagement bond between medical students at clinical stage in various health tertiary institutions in the country into the state civil service for a period of 2 to 6 years to bridge the deficits in the medical industry. Fatima Aliyu reports.
The health sector in Niger State has over the years been challenged with manpower gap,
leading to overstretch of medical personnel across health facilities in the state. It was in an effort to bridge this deficit that the state government is engaging 60 indigenous medical students at clinical stage in tertiary institutions across the country to serve as frontline medical officers. Under the initiative, the medical students will be placed on salary grade level 10 step 2 and are expected to in return provide effective healthcare services to the people of the state. Niger State Governor was represented at the engagement.
It's part of Niger State government efforts at supporting their studies on one hand and providing them the opportunity to join the civil service before completing their medical course.
Part of the arrangement is that if we service you for 1 year, you are under a bond to work for us for 2 years before you take a leave. If we service you for 2 years, it means you are staying with us for 4 years after graduation. And part of it also is that you must come back here to do your housemanship. Now we have IBB University Teaching Hospital for them to do their residency program.
The drive is expected to engage more than 120 medical students in the next 3 years. This is in addition to the 1,000 health workers employed by the state government last year. Fatima Aliu, NTA News.
And away from health matters, the Renewed Hope initiative has kept another of its promises to vulnerable groups in the country with the distribution of food items and other palliatives to persons with disabilities in Nasarawa State. Wife of the Vice President, Nana Shetima, who led other members of the RHI team to Lafia, Nasarawa State, donated the items to the beneficiaries on behalf of Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu. Presenting the items, she says the gesture is another step forward in the strides of the initiative to support government in improving the quality of life of vulnerable groups in the country. Deputy Governor of Nasarawa State, Emmanuel Akabe, who received the items on behalf of the beneficiaries, applauded the First Lady for putting the concern of the weak in the society on top of her agenda. And now, development experts pinpoint adoption of the presidential initiative on compressed natural gas as antidote to inflation. Vivian Ezadefe in this business package tells us more.
The cost of food and energy keeps rising, and this has eventually led to high inflation. Development experts now say adoption of the President's initiative on CNG can serve as remedy. With the presidential directive to ministries, departments and agencies to procure CNG buses, experts in the transportation sector want the mandate taken down to the grassroots as a way of sensitization and creating awareness on the benefit of adopting the presidential initiative. They are optimistic that the initiative will address high cost of transportation.
The multiple effects of reduction of what you spend on fuel is almost 70% by the cost implications that we have. And I think if that happens simultaneously across the country, it will reduce what we spend daily on goods and services.
So anything that you will do to make that run smooth, run cheaper, and run better is going to impact heavily on the economy of the country. And that is why we're saying this gas, this CNG is the way to go.
Focusing on the transportation of goods and services, we should, if we get a good change from diesel vehicles to CNG vehicles, we see a good reduction of over 70%.
CNG is one of the technologies that has come on mainstream to be able to address our transportation system, and it's much cheaper.
Meanwhile, Nigerians cannot wait for the CNG buses to come on stream to alleviate some of the hardship they go through on a daily basis while trying to commute to work. Investigation reveals that workers who could not afford to pay the high cost of transportation rushed to enter an open van vehicle to get to their destination. According to them, areas like Kubwa, Lugbe, among others, that was 300 naira is now 500 to 700 naira depending on the distance, while other areas triple the transport fare.
We used to spend from Nyanya to Wuse here 200, sometimes 300. But now, hey, transport, before you go and come back, you have spent like 2,000. Like normally, what we used to take is 300, 200, but now it's 400, 500. Sometimes if there is much people, you'll be seeing the taxi driver calling 600 from here to Nyanya.
Lugbe, where I used to live down here, I used to pay about 400 daily. Then I now relocated towards Maraba, Nyanya area, and then I get to pay most times in the morning 800, 700. You know, even with a bus, not even a smaller vehicle. So it's really telling really hard on the economy and on the citizens because the finances are not really there, and then people are getting to pay at exorbitant prices.
New car to town going back, but now I spend 1,400 every day. 1,400 naira. But if you say you cannot come to work, what will you take, sustain yourself with? Your family are there, you pay your rentage.
With hope in sight, Nigerians are grateful with the presidential initiative, which they believe will crush the high cost of transportation and other challenges affecting the economy of the nation. With business, Vivian Adifi.
Nigeria Customs Service has set a time frame for the full commencement of its trade modernization project. Public Relations Officer of the service, Abdullahi Mayoda, while giving an update on the project, emphasized that many bottlenecks impeding smooth trade facilitation will eventually give way. Kunle Adeyeye reports.
Public-private partnership initiative, the Trade Modernization Project is a critical national scheme designed to simplify trade. It will ultimately enable customs to adapt to the latest dynamics in global trade. With fully automated processes and specific emphasis on activities of importers, traders can now monitor clearance developments on the National Trade Portal.
We believe that by the end of the project, Nigeria Customs Service will be a pride among its peers. And like the National PRO has said, this is a project that builds on the progress the Nigeria Customs Service has had over many decades. And this is what will bring Nigeria Customs fully into the 22nd century to ensure that it earns its pride of place, or its place of pride rather, among customs administrations around the world.
One of its components, the Unified Customs Management System, which is visible and transparent, will engage partners to fine-tune the final takeoff.
In terms of trade facilitation, efficiency in customs delivery, and in terms of revenue generation, that is the essence of modernization. If you define trade facilitation according to WCO, it's just simple. Simplification, standardization, harmonization, automation of your processes and procedures. And finally, we enforce fiscal policies of the government in terms of anti-smuggling and other responsibilities.
The project is a 20-year plan that will be implemented in 3 phases. Kunle Adeyeye, NTA News.
You're watching the news desk at 6 on NTA News 24. Now, a recap of our major stories. Organized labor relaxes 2-day-old strike action for enhanced negotiation. Central Bank of Nigeria to strengthen debt management capacity in West Africa with partnership. And NCDC moves to amplify public health messaging across the country.
This is NTA News 24.
And that concludes the news desk at 6 on NTA News 24. Thanks for watching. I am Ogoch Kuka Ona.